Welcome to today's briefing following the conclusion of the Association Council between Tunisia and the European Union. To brief you on the result of the Council are with us, on behalf of the High Representative, the Cyprus Minister of Foreign Affairs, Euratokos Markoulis, Commissioner Stefan Füle, and the Minister for Foreign Affairs of Tunisia, Mr. Abdesalem. We'll start with Minister Markoulis.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This is the third Tunisian high-level visit to Brussels this year, and it proves the intensity of our relations. We are here today to reaffirm once again the privileged partnership between Tunisia and the European Union, as symbolized by our political agreement of the new EU-Tunisia Action Plan. Our new action plan will give to the European Union a political tool to support the Tunisian progress to democracy in the years to come. And it should also represent an opportunity for our Tunisian friends to anchor the achievements of the transition in a closer relation with Europe. This joint document contains ambitious commitments on all issues of EU-Tunisia cooperation, and it constitutes an instrument of dialogue between our two societies. The high Tunisian ambitions on governance, human rights and democracy mark the clearest break with the past and embody the values that are at the very heart of the Tunisian revolution and indeed of the Arab Spring. The action plan will also identify our political dialogue at every level. Our relationship today is based on shared values and shared interests in the world. It includes reference to fundamental freedoms, democratic values and reforms. Important that the ideas of the revolution, social justice for all, men and women, respect for personal dignity and freedoms can be achieved. We have had the opportunity to review the 20 months of Tunisian democratic transition, reforms, its progress, but also obstacles, the numerous remaining challenges, including the drafting of the new constitution and the holding of the next general elections. In our talks, my Tunisian counterpart has reiterated the irreversible nature of the democratic transition in view of the rendezvous in the Tunisian democratic process, approval of the Constitution, and new elections. I once again reiterated the European Union's support to all actors of the Tunisian democratic transition, the authorities, democratic political forces, and the civil society, inter alia through our cooperation instruments. And I pleaded for a constructive attitude of all democratic actors in the current phase of the democratic transition. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner.
Thank you very much. I have already said several times to our Tunisian friends that we want to see their transformation succeed. The European Union's offer remains substantial. We are keen to continue helping you to achieve the goals of the revolution, to strengthen democracy and to help the economy. When I was in Tunis last July, I outlined 4 concrete points of our assistance: a privileged partnership, a new action plan, negotiations of trade agreements, new agreement in the aviation area to boost tourism, and proposing a mobility partnership. Today we deliver on the first one, and it is an important achievement in our relationship. We are serious with our promises. And I'm glad to report that we have agreed to embark in the actual negotiations on the Open Sky Agreement, following a meeting of my colleague, Vice President of the Commission, Kallas, with the Tunisian Transport Minister last week. We are convinced that a speedy conclusion of these negotiations would bring substantial benefits to Tunisian tourism, employment and the economy recovery. We hope that negotiations on a number of trade agreements can also resume quickly. We are offering the prospect of a gradual integration of Tunisian economy into our internal market. This will not only offer additional market access and stimulus for reforms, but will also send a strong signal of openness and confidence to investors. In the shorter term, we are offering to resume negotiations in the field of agriculture, which can bring also clear benefits to both sides. I'm fully aware that there are high expectations regarding the issue of improving the mobility of the people. This is a legitimate concern. Quick progress on talks on the mobility partnership would give a first concrete, at the same time symbolic response to Tunisian expectations on mobility and labour exchanges. So there are many opportunities. To use them, it is necessary to continue with the transformation and reforms. Only then will the citizens see the changes they were calling for during their inspiring revolutions almost 2 years ago. And let me shortly summarize, because this one was the presidency indeed would like to underline the results of this association council. We have now a new substantive basis for our cooperation, the new action plan. We have had good discussions on another substantive basis. The Commission will very soon will discuss and hopefully endorse. This is a communication on the cooperation between the European Union and Arab Maghreb Union. So we were talking about not only about the South-North cooperation, but also the need for the South-South cooperation and our willingness and readiness to assist the Arab Maghreb Union to make some bold steps as far as the regional integration. What we have also discussed is the need now that we're building, this very solid basis, that we have also a solid political steering mechanism. We will review the structure of the Association Council, the various subcommittees, make sure that they fit the priorities as being seen by the Tunisian and the European Union side, making sure that the deliberation within the framework of the subcommittees and the recommendations will enable us to deliver on the assistance to transition of Tunisia. And we'll be also working on additional informal political steering to make sure that this very important partnership between the European Union and Tunisia indeed correspond to our ambition to have those relationship a privileged one. Thank you very much.
Please. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Stefan. We were in very fruitful and constructive discussion, not only to issues related to the Tunisian affairs, but also to regional problems and issues, including, the Syrian problem, 5+5 cooperation, the Arab Maghreb Union integration, the problem of the Sahel. All of you know that we are facing different, problems, different crises in the region, and what happened nowadays also in Gaza. We discussed all these issues in very transparent and open dialogue and discussion. As it was mentioned, we have a joint document related to the privileged partnership between Tunisia and the European Union that include the views and the priorities of both parties. We have very ambitious action plan. We are beginning this process. We already have, made good achievements and good rounds of dialogue and discussions, and we need to continue this discussion, informal as well, informal one. The relationship between Tunisia and the European Union is a strategic one. It is based on common history, common memory, geostrategic conditions of the country of Tunisia. Of course, Tunisia is a multi-dimensional country. We are part of the Maghreb Arab Union. We are part of the African continent, but we are, Mediterranean, and we are related to the European Union based on geography, history, memory, common memories, as well economic interest, taking in consideration that more than 80% of our trade is with the European Union. So the relationship between Tunisia and the European Union is a strategic one. It is not a choice, it is a necessity based on geography and all elements. And whoever, will be in the position of power in Tunisia could not, change this priority. Europe was a priority, and it will remain a priority for Tunisia. Of course, as far as you know, Tunisia is in the process of political transformation. After a revolution that had its echoes in different, Arabic capitals, in Cairo, in Tripoli, in Sana'a, in Damascus, and we still see, this process of political transformation not only in Tunisia but other, countries of the region. And one of the lessons that we have drawn from the Tunisian revolution itself is that the geopolitical conditions of the region is deeply interconnected and intertwined. And what happened in any country of the region will affect others. The other element is that our economic and political stability is deeply interconnected with the European Union. Whatever happened in the southern Mediterranean hemisphere will affect, either positively or negatively, will affect the European Union itself. That is why I said the relationship between Tunisia and the European Union, as well vice versa from the European Union, is strategic one, based on political and economic interests, as well strategic reason. I think, as Stefan has mentioned, the European Union is serious about its promises towards Tunisia, and I should confirm also that Tunisia is very serious about its promises to the European Union. And one of these promises is to continue the process of political transformation based on the values and principles of democracy, human rights, to preserve the freedom of expression, the rights of the women. We already agreed in Tunisia that with all differences, with all political polarization sometimes here and there, but we agree that we have certain social and political achievements, and we will consolidate these achievements that will be in favor of all the Tunisian people. I think we are moving towards a privileged partnership that will be in favor of Tunisia as well for the European Union. And I hope that we succeed to continue this discussion. I hope also we succeed in this process of political transformation, which is a very complicated one. As far as you know, from learning from the previous political transformation, not only in the region, but including in Europe itself, in the Eastern Bloc of the European Union. But we have the feeling that we are moving in the right direction, and we could succeed in this painful and complicated process. And if we succeed, at least we send a positive message to the region that democracy is possible in the Arab world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. We have time for a few questions. Please, before asking, clearly state your name and your news organization, please.
My name is Nordin Fridi from Al Arabian News Channel. I have a question to Mr. Rafiq Abdel Salam, the Foreign Affairs Minister of Tunisia. Minister, many violent actions happened in our country during these months against women, against intellectuals. These violent action, were perpetrated by extremist groups. This, including the events against the United States Embassy. This impacted very badly the image of the political process in the country and the country as a whole. In this morning session, did you reassure the European Union, your partners, about the irreversibility, as Madam Chairman said, about the political process, and have you been in a position to say when the Constitution will be finally written and drafted and when the election will take place? Thank you.
I think I'll reply in Arabic, since it's Arabia, if you have a chance, not need translation, from Arabic to English in this case. I don't know, we haven't translation. No, haven't. Otherwise, I'll speak in English.
There's no translation.
No translation. Okay. Of course, there are certain, violent actions against women, intellectuals, but we have not to exaggerate. Tunisia is not, Afghanistan. At the end of the day, Tunisia is a newborn democracy, and one of the role of the state is to respect and to preserve the freedom of expressions, freedom of conducts of life. Tunisia was an open country and due to remain an open country. The storming of the American embassy, I hope that it was also a excluded event. Of course, it jeopardized the image of Tunisia, but I could assure you that this government, the state, could guarantee the security of all embassies, members of staff, schools, and members of foreign communities in Tunisia. Of course, it damaged the image of Tunisia. At the end of the day, one of the achievements of Tunisia is that we have a peaceful revolution. It's not we haven't a bloody, political transformation, and we are in process of democratization. It damaged the image of the country. But as I said before, we are in a process of political transformation. We faced some difficulties here and there, but I'm sure that Tunisia have the ability and the capability to preserve the political stability and the security of the country, including all embassies and members of the staff. And I think our American friends understand the case very well, and they assure us that they continue their support for the democratic process in Tunisia. And I assure you that we have a well-functioning state, and we could, guarantee the stability and the security of the country. Related to the Salafist, what is called the Salafist phenomenon, it is a complicated phenomenon. Tunisia is open to all political expressions as long as groups, they are peaceful one. They don't oppress other people in their views or ways of life. But there is no state which respects itself, and it is citizens could tolerate any kind of violence. So we are very keen to face all expressions or conducts of violent conducts, but at the same time, we are very keen also to preserve our political achievement, and one of these achievements is the democratic process itself.
The deadline, please, for the election and the constitution.
The election, we already have related to the election, we already have a roadmap. We already agreed within the coalition government to go to election by 23rd of June. Of course, this is a proposition from the coalition government. We're still open to other propositions from the other political and social players, and we still in discussion. We are open by hearts and minds to all these issues. By the drafting of the constitution, also we are in process. We already agrees in the main pillars of the constitution. We have differences in the past related to the nature of the political system. We agree to have a semi-parliamentarian, semi-presidential political system. We fixed the date or proposed the date of the next election. We have polarization related to the issue of Sharia. We already agreed that not to mention Sharia in the next constitution. So I think the next constitution, I assure you, will be more democratic and will preserve and respect the values of freedom and human rights than the previous constitution that was drafted in 58.
Please.
Excuse me. Hussein Waili from IBT and Middle East. Question for Mr. Full. So exactly, I'm speaking about partnership. What exactly, there's some a plan about investment, immigration and security. And this is partnership exactly. And how long exactly the term of this is partnership? Thank you.
The last part of your question, for how long?
How long exactly the term of this partnership?
Yeah. Okay. The term is foreseen for 5 years, but of course, with the agreement of both sides, it could be extended. What we have is the Protocol agreement with the Tunisian government and the member states backing what has been negotiated. What we need to go through now is the technical and legal procedure here in the European Union. Now, the action plan benefits from a number of the commitments, a number of the concrete steps already delivered to support the Tunisian transition. The action plan also moves the cooperation we have normally with our southern partners to higher ambitions, but fully reflecting all the new elements as proposed by the reviewed neighborhood policy. It is about a number of the issues starting from the increased political dialogue at all levels, developing cooperation with the European Parliament, Tunisian Parliament, cooperation on civil protection, of course focusing very much on cooperation on justice, security and sector reform, regional issues. I talked about that a little bit. It's also about helping to prepare our Tunisian colleagues for the negotiation on the deep and comprehensive free trade area, cooperation on the developing of industrial strategies and modernization of Tunisian industry, improving the functioning of customs, exchanges of the students, renewable energy. It's 50 pages document, a very concrete one. What we have agreed today in general is that we will work very hard at the beginning of next year to reflect this action plan in some kind of metrics, just a couple of pages, which would be much better way of communicate with the Tunisian citizens and the European citizens what it is that we want to achieve in the bilateral relationship. And also it would give the politicians, and not only politicians, the tool to steer the relationship. I think it would give also the civil society an important role, both number one, monitoring the implementation of the various tasks there, but also to actively participating in implementation of these issues. By the way, the role of the civil society has been strengthened a couple of times by both sides during the Association Council. We have appreciated the Tunisian Foreign Ministry actually calling for the meeting with the civil society before the action plan has been finalized. We ourselves, from our side, are doing everything that this partnership we have with Tunisia is not only with authorities, but with the whole society, and particularly through the civil society. So they will also benefit from a greater and greater transparency and openness as far as the European Union is concerned. Thank you.
We'll take two more questions. And there and on.
Mondaire Nemri, political and economist analyst. J'ai une question, mais je ne sais pas si c'est pour Madame la Ministre ou bien pour le commissaire Fuller. Concernant le plan d'action établi entre l'Union européenne et la Tunisie, est-ce qu'on pourrait avoir plus de détails? On parle de quelques agréments concernant la mobilité, l'Open Sky, mais je voudrais avoir plus de détails s'il y a moyen d'avoir des chiffres. For the foreign minister, Mr. Minister, you speak about the security in Tunisia. and the European Union asks more warranty. But what about economic stability?
Okay. And the other question?
Wajdi Khalifa du journal tunisien Capitalis. Ma question est pour le ministre des Affaires étrangères tunisien. Est-ce que le partenariat avec l'Union européenne est ambitieux? Est-ce qu'il n'est pas temps pour la Tunisie de créer une ambassade ad hoc ici à Bruxelles, comme l'a fait le Maroc et la Turquie? Une ambassade qui s'occuperait donc exclusivement des affaires européennes, puisque maintenant l'actuelle ambassade couvre à la fois la Belgique, Luxembourg et les institutions européennes. Merci.
Thank you. Who wants to start?
I can very, very briefly come back to the action plan. We will now, with the discussion with the member states and our Tunisian partners, will find the earliest possible date, to make that action plan available to all the Tunisians and, of course, also citizens of the European Union. That's point number one. Point number two, I tried to give you just a couple of examples of the very comprehensive nature of this action plan, and I'm not going to go during this press conference beyond that. And number three, as far as the open sky, I referred to a very recent discussion of my colleague from the Commission, Sim Kallas, the Vice President of the Commission, with his colleague from Tunisia, which has opened the way for starting the negotiations of the open sky. Another treaty, another initiative with a concrete positive impact on the tourism, on the employability in Tunisia. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very briefly on the economic situation, economic stability and security in Tunisia. Of course, we have listened with great care the elaboration on the part of the foreign minister, but also the Minister for Development and Investments of Tunisia regarding the economic situation, regarding the relationship with the European Union. I understand that 80% of the trade of Tunisia is with the European Union. We had an opportunity to elaborate on the current economic situation in the European Union and the difficulties that the European Union is currently encountering, especially in the south of the Eurozone area. But definitely both the action plan but also the relationship between the European Union and Tunisia is intended to boost the economic relations and trade relations between the European Union and Tunisia. On the security situation, we had an opportunity also during the political dialogue to discuss on regional cooperation and the security challenges that exist in the neighborhood of Tunisia, and how these affect the situation in Tunisia. Especially, we touched upon the situation in Libya, the situation in Mali, and the Sahel. That's what we.
Thank you. I think I fully agree with what's already mentioned by the chairman. The economic stability is very crucial and for great priority for us, since we fully understand that democracy is not separated from the socio-economic demands of the people. We already made good progress in the political field. We are processed to build our democratic institutions, and the process of complicated transformation, political transformation, and the stabilization, economic stability of the country, social and economic stability is for great priority, since the people have demands, political demands as well, social and economic demands. And one of the reasons that we have seen the revolution, people have their expectations and demands needed to be implemented. And we are working very hard to stabilize our economy with all difficulties that we are facing, but we are making a good progress, taking in consideration that when we started the coalition government, the growth rate was under 0, 1.8 under 0. Now we reach 3.3 this is the figure is more than positive, taking in consideration the local context in which this government is functioning and the regional situation, including the economic difficulties that are facing the European Union, which affected our economy. So this does not mean that we are living in paradise. We face, some difficulties, economic and social difficulties. And one of the challenges that we are facing is the demands and the expectations of the people themselves, who wants, to improve their quality of life in a miracle way. This is the greatest challenge that we are facing, but we are doing our best to implement the expectations and the demands of the people. Related to some proposals, either we are going to open an embassies related to the European Union in Brussels or Luxembourg. I think this is one of the mechanisms that will be discussed later on, not at this stage.
Can I add something about figures? Because we talked also about figures during our discussions earlier today. And what we have noted is that compared to the original plan, talking about so-called national indicative envelope or national indicative plan for the 2011-2013, the original plan was to make available around 240 million of euros in grants. I have to say that just in 2 years, 2011 and 2012, we have reached almost 400 million of euros, using also the largest contribution so far from the program called Spring, which is handling the top-up money which are being made available to our partners based on the principle more for more. We made the point earlier today that based on the assessment of the reform process this year, we will be ready and willing to make another disbursement from this fund also next year to support the transition in Tunisia. Now, the second issue, which is very important, is the follow-up to the task force. The task force and its meeting in Tunisia was a very important opportunity not only to put on the table the European Union commitment, but also the one of the member states and the international financial institutions and other important stakeholders, including also the private business. That was not just one ad hoc event. There is a serious follow-up. It will be one of those elements we will be following very carefully through this informal steering mechanism we have agreed today to work on, and by the end of this year to exchange the first proposal from both sides. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks all for joining us.
Is possible, Minister, is possible to take a picture in the middle?